Thanks very much, Jeffrey. I'd like to ask the Grand Master of Scotland if he wishes to say a few words to us all.
Grand Master, distinguished guests, sisters, brothers, ladies and gentlemen, don't worry about the notes. The notes are here to make sure I keep this brief. There are one or two things I do want to say. The first and most obvious thing is how delighted that I am, on behalf of myself, the executive, and the many Scots faces I can see gathered here. It's always a pleasure to be with the sisters and brethren of England and of the Liverpool province, and it's an absolute delight to be with you today. It's a very important occasion. I congratulate you on calling this rally. It's a big issue for many people out there who don't really understand the Act of Settlement, as Jeffrey was saying. You'll see this as a bit of a grey issue, a bit of an old-fashioned matter, something that was perhaps important 300 years ago that's perhaps not as important today. They don't really understand the issues, but we do, sisters and brethren, and that's the important part, and that's why it's so important that you've called this rally today. We've had in recent times, we've had so many occasions to have a united front between the three Grand Lodges of the United Kingdom, and I'm very, very satisfied about that. The Act of Settlement is all about preserving our way of life and our religious freedom, and we see the issue because we are, at the end of the day, an organisation that's set to defend our Protestant faith and our Protestant liberties. I will say just a couple of things about that settlement, but if you don't mind, I was just going to make just a brief comment on the events of Thursday last, the general election. Jeffrey touched on the Treaty of Union and the Act of Union of 1801, those acts that bind the constituent parts of this United Kingdom. It's a big concern to us in Scotland, it's a big concern to our brethren in Ulster, and it has to be a big concern also to the brethren in England and Wales. We had an election yesterday, and just in Thursday there, and just in case you missed it down here, in Scotland there were some very significant results. We have a gentleman in Scotland called Alex Salmond, who is our First Minister. He's also leader of the Scottish National Party, and he boasted that he would return 20 members of Parliament to Westminster. He utterly failed, sisters and brethren. He utterly failed. I think he's down, is it 5? It might be 6, but I think was it 6? Oh, he did slightly better than I thought he'd done. But he utterly failed, sisters and brethren. His party of, if I may say, whinging, rebellious Scots has now been shrunk to, or been retained at the rub that they were. I take some satisfaction from that fact, because I have to tell you that it was many of our sisters and brethren who were administering the kicking. We asked our brethren to put their weight behind the Unionist candidate most likely to defeat the Scottish Nationalists. And the Labour Party I don't know quite why they're so surprised that their vote went up in Scotland. I know why their vote went up, because we helped them in Scotland. We asked our people to get behind them. I'm not personally a great fan of the Labour Party, but it's, as far as defending the Union is concerned, it was the party of choice in most of the industrial heartland in which the Orange Order has got its strength. But get this, the wily Mr. Salmond is never stuck for ideas in his many attempts at destroying the Union. The story that he's now peddling is that if there is a Tory government formed in Westminster, then it would have absolutely no political legitimacy in Scotland. Sisters and brethren, that is pernicious nonsense. This is a United Kingdom. I drove down the M74 this morning. I went through a great big sign that said, "Welcome to England." If you travel back towards Scotland, you'll go through a similar big sign. It says, "Welcome to Scotland." And those signs recognise the historical border that once separated two sovereign independent nations. But this has been a United Kingdom now for more than 300 years. And the good news, sisters and brethren, is that Alex Salmond and his nationalist cronies are as far away as they ever were in their attempts to break up our country. United we stand, united we stay. As far as the Act of Settlement is concerned, sisters and brethren, I could hold you rigid for a good couple of hours. I've written screeds and screeds on this matter in the torch. Those of you who take the torch will realise that. The same Alex Salmond is a big fan of repealing the Act of Settlement. Now, why do you think that is? Could it just be because the Act of Settlement is one of a whole raft of acts and treaties that make up the British Constitution? All of them inextricably bound up together? Could it just be if you unpick one, you unpick them all? And, well, what do you know? One of those things that you're quite likely to unpick is the Treaty of Union. Yes, sisters and brethren, those who advocate repealing the Act of Settlement never tell you the danger that would pose to all of the other acts and treaties. Our enemies who want to destroy the Act of Settlement are a determined bunch. They have been grinding away at this for years, and you can be certain that they've no intention of giving up. But then, sisters and brethren, we've no intention of giving up either. And let me tell you this, to those of you from the Grand Lodge of England, your Grand Master is a bonny fighter in this particular instance. I had the pleasure of being with him a few months ago down in London. We visited the Ministry of Justice. We sat listening with increasing disbelief as the Minister tried to soap us on the government's intentions. Eventually, Ron couldn't take it any longer, and he said to the Minister, if you repeal the Act of Settlement and a future monarch becomes a Roman Catholic, how could such a monarch possibly be governor of the Church of England? I have to tell you, and this is a real worry, the Minister didn't get it. The Minister didn't see how that, in all seriousness, how that could possibly be a problem. However, the Rottweiler here soon put him right, and I have to say, in no uncertain manner. When we left the Ministry, it was our understanding that Gordon Brown intended to raise the matter of the Act of Settlement with other Commonwealth leaders. It was also expected that repeal of the Act would be part of the Labour Party election manifesto. It was there all right, I went looking for it, you had to really search, and it was a very weak commitment. It would be nice to think that this institution played no small part in putting the lid back on this dangerous constitutional meddling. But sisters and brethren, my final word to you today is, do not be lulled into a false sense of security. The enemies of the British Constitution will be back very soon to have another go. As a certain terrorist turned politician once said, they haven't gone away, you know. Which is why we as a fraternity dedicated to maintaining our Protestant liberties must not relax our vigilance. This public rally is sending out an important message to our enemies. Bring it on, because we are ready and willing to defend our faith, our heritage, and our freedom. God bless you all. Keep the faith.